you let the dogs out?
What? Do what?
Let the dogs out. Like, who let the dogs out? Who?
Off the Hook, airing on offthehooksports.com. Your home for real news, real opinions, and what really matters about Tennessee athletics. Always available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeart. Like, share, follow, subscribe. Always available wherever you find your favorite podcasts.
And a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. We broadcast live at 8:30 each and every weekday morning. Not sure when you're watching. Thank you for those that are already on board. We greatly appreciate that. Good morning, Brittany. We'll have this day in sports history a little bit later. This day in Tennessee sports history, thanks to Brittany. And also, we will have Caleb Calhoun to break down Josh Heupel's press conference yesterday. Talk of a book already in the works by the Knoxville News Sentinel. That may not be the best idea, but Tennessee, Georgia, number 1 versus number 2 in the biggest game in program history, I would say, since the 2001 SEC championship game. So it is huge. Good morning to you, Smoky Mountain Red. And Joey, good morning to you as well. Yes, thanks for being on time. You don't have to be on time because it is on our YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, and share. But we love to see your shining faces in the morning. So please like, subscribe, and share. Good morning, Amanda LaFratta. How are you?
I'm doing well this morning. How are you, Dave?
I'm well. You look lovely. Have a glow today. Is it the big game glow? Is that what it is?
That's it. That's it. It's a big game glow. That's coined that term. Go ahead.
Yeah, maybe we make a t-shirt out of it. Probably some more of those in the Hooker shirts that are still available if you want to check those out. All right, so we want to get to the Down and Dirty at 30, brought to you by Honeybee Coffee. You just took a sip just then. Honeybee Coffee, it's just darn good coffee, Amanda LaFratta.
Yeah, it's just really good. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you want. You want something that's really good, that'll get you energized and it won't leave you feeling like crap. So this is that coffee.
He wants to feel like the C word, for sure. C word.
I don't think you call that the C word.
No. Oh, yeah, there's another. Yeah, I know somebody that almost got fired for using the other C word. But, yeah.
Well, that word doesn't bother me. I don't know why. It just doesn't bother me.
Fair. Okay.
Not much bothers me, though, so.
No, you're pretty even keel. The Down and Dirty at 30, brought to you by our friends at Honeybee Coffee. Want to get to some things right off the top. And one that I thought was very interesting, quarterback Hendon Hooker admitted that he's surprised how wide open Tennessee's receivers can get sometimes. I like that Hendon Hooker's opening up a little bit and saying more. And this is one of those things that he probably wouldn't have said in the first couple of weeks of the season. But I'm still surprised that somebody hasn't figured out how to cover these guys. I mean, it is a big time scheme thing. I think Tennessee's receivers, Amanda, are very talented, but this is scheme. I mean, this is something that gets people's attention, and it's been pretty obvious that Tennessee's receivers have been running bare, and it's been very phenomenal. It's not just to say, hey, these guys are incredible. That's part of it, but a big part of it, I think the majority, is scheme.
Heupel. I mean, it really is. It's Heupel. I mean, we saw it at was it UCF? I mean, what he could do, and he's done it here, and I just. It's him. And so for everyone, freaking out, like he might leave, he might not, yada, yada, yada. But you have to understand why teams are going to be after him. Like, you have to see why. Like, everybody's going to be after Heupel.
Yeah, you hope that, at one point he has so much success. Listen, you want teams to want him. So you hope that he has so much success. And this all stems from Tony Romo saying during a game that 4 or 5 teams would likely reach out to him. That may well be the case. And I think he would be a good NFL coach. I don't know about great. We still don't know if he is a great college coach. We know he's a very, very good college coach, but to be a great college coach, you've got to win a championship. He might do that this year, and then that conversation's over and done with. But Amanda,
I think he's great.
you would say great at this point?
Yeah, because of what he's done, because of what he's been able to do with the, talent level that he's had, what he's been able to do in just a short amount of time. I would consider him great. That would just be, I think 2 years into Saban's, into Saban's tenure at Alabama, people are already saying he's great. It's very similar, actually. It's pretty similar.
Well, I mean, he had the championship at LSU, so I thought he was great.
It's true.
At that point. So, I guess I'm thinking more generational. Is he that type of guy? Okay, let me ask you this. So, Lincoln or Bob Stoops. Let me take Bob Stoops. Is he a great coach in your mind?
He has a great resume. I don't know if I would consider him a great coach, considering what he had at, Oklahoma. I don't know if I would consider him a great coach. I also wouldn't consider Ed Orgeron a great coach or Les Miles a great coach. But again, they both won national titles at LSU. So I think with Saban, I wouldn't have considered him great when he was at LSU just because the amount of talent that was there. That's why I wouldn't have considered him great. I would consider him great when he went to Alabama, was able to do the same thing. That's why I consider Heupel great, is he was at UCF, he was able to do what he's doing now, and then he went to Tennessee and he's able to do it still. So that to me says he's a great coach, whereas Les Miles couldn't do that. Clearly Ed Orgeron couldn't do that.
Yes, that's true. And I don't think he's allowed to coach at any college that's co-ed anymore. I think that's the NCAA has ruled that. It's becoming a tradition almost as strong as the checkerboard end zones or the ball walk. Tennessee has once again been named as a weekly SEC award recipient. This time it goes to Darnell Wright, who manned the right tackle position in Tennessee's 44-6 win over Kentucky on Saturday. So kudos to him. And some recruiting news is you're going to see this continue to happen. I've covered a lot of recruiting, and you're going to see this to continue for Tennessee to make the top list of some of the top prospects. So athlete Brandon Hillman announced his top 8 schools. It was Virginia, Oklahoma, Miami, Tennessee, North Carolina, Kentucky, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame. He's the number 25 athlete in the class of 2023, 6'1", 191 pounds. Watched some of his tape last night, was very impressed. He's had over 1,000 yards passing and rushing, eclipsed 30 touchdowns as a quarterback and a defensive back. I'll look at him and see him as a defensive back. Quarterback Davy Belfort. Belfort announced his top 7 schools on Saturday. Tech, Ole Miss, Florida, Michigan State, Alabama. So when you're going against the Alabamas and to some extent the Floridas of the world, that's significant. 2024 prospect. Tennessee is in great shape at quarterbacks, but they would certainly take the number 26 overall quarterback. He's just a 3-star guy now. We'll see where he goes. And Jalen Hayward announced his top 6 schools. Now, Hayward is the number 3 safety in the class of 2024 out of Florida. You look at his list, and this is what's going to change, guys. I'm going to tell you, no matter what happens Saturday, but Amanda, Tennessee has made enough of an impact where you're going to see them, and Hayward's a great example, be listed in these type of groups. Georgia, yes. Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Florida. Those are big-time recruiting schools.
Yes, and Tennessee's no longer, and I'm sorry for the Tennessee fans out there, but for a while you were considered the butt of the joke. I mean, in the SEC, going through all of the coaches that you went through, Derek Dooley, when Lane Kiffin left, I think maybe that's why a lot of Tennessee fans are still kind of salty about that one. Maybe not anymore, but were for a while, is because when Lane Kiffin left, it was like it kicked off that whole era of, being the butt of the joke with, the Derek Dooley and the Butch Jones and the Jeremy Pruitt. Well, you're no longer that anymore. I mean, you're right up there. You scare teams. No one wants to play you, and it's good to be in that position. Like it's really good to be there instead of what you were for the past 10 years.
Great transition. Don't know if you meant to do so or not, but when you look around the SEC, you see a couple of schools that are where Tennessee was and how that is not a fun position. Auburn fires Brian Harsin, not surprised whatsoever. And then Billy Napier is just kind of at Florida, where he's supposed to be the great detail-oriented coach and all that. We talked about that, how I was like, I haven't seen anything. I like what he did against Tennessee. I thought he was aggressive. I thought he gave his team the best chance to win. I'll give him that. But they're 4-4. And I don't know if you heard about this, but a reporter who I actually know, he's an AP reporter. And usually the AP reporters are what's the best word I get? Bland, usually.
I saw that this morning.
So they're usually pretty bland. Like they don't have a lot of personality. They just do their job, and they're not the ones that want to be on radio and all that stuff for whatever reason. I don't know, but that's just my experience. This guy's the opposite. Okay, I mean he's outspoken. He and I've had words before.
Good words or bad words?
They weren't good words.
Okay,
they weren't good. They weren't good words. And he said during a hot mic that he said that Billy Napier was apparently running late for his press conference, and somebody said something, and he goes, "Well, he shouldn't make us wait." And I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, "I'll be here after Billy Napier. I can promise you that." I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I'll be here longer than Billy Napier will. I can promise you that. Yeah.
That's kind of bold. I mean, again, the AP guys are usually kind of the just by the book guys.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's not. Maybe they're trying to get some fighting words in there. I don't know, but yeah, again, Billy Napier, Aaron Hernandez. That's all I see. Every time I look at him, that's all I see. Aaron Hernandez. I can't help it. He just looks just like him. I can't. Nothing I can do.
John said, ignorant question because I have only been on this channel this football season. Do you guys cover basketball and baseball too, or just football? Well, we've only been in existence since June, and we did a lot on baseball, and we will do a lot on baseball and basketball. Needless to say, and we have Ron Slay on tomorrow, brought to you by Zach England, Best and Brock. When it comes to the best attorney in Chattanooga, you need to call Zach England. Zach England of Best and Brock will handle your personal injury needs. And we'll have Ron Slay on tomorrow. So, yes, we're going to dive headfirst into a lot of things, a lot of big announcements coming up on the channel. So, like, subscribe, and share. We would greatly appreciate that. John says, sweet. Yeah, we'll be all on top of it. But given this football season, that has obviously driven the news. I thought we'd be talking more. I mean, to be honest with you, in August, I would have told you we'd be talking a decent amount of basketball at this point. But with just 90 minutes, it's what we're packing in as football right now. So the other thing and this is just a bad idea. I jokingly, before we get to today's tough question, put up a poll last night. And Amanda, I'm curious what you think of my options, because it appears as if the Knoxville News Sentinel is going to put out a book based off this season. Now, it's going to be one of those coffee table books with a lot of pictures. And
pictures are nice.
Pictures are nice, but it is not something that I would do, because I think it's just absolutely bad luck to do this. But they have already decided that there's going to be a revive of Vols. Okay, not easy to say, hastily made name, in my opinion. Let's hope they do a little bit better. But you can order the Revive of Vols if you would like to, picture book, and your thoughts on announcing a book that you can pre-order and you can get by March the 4th. And the marketing idea Amanda, you worked in marketing. Tell me if this is a good idea or a bad idea. Because you can't get it by the holidays. You can give somebody a piece of paper, like a postcard, essentially is what it looks like, that they are going to get their Reviva Vols book when it's out on March the 4th.
So it's Reviva Vols?
I'm doing the best I can with the name. It's not a good name. It's yes, Reviva Vols.
Was it Revivals?
Revivals, yes. Maybe
Revivals.
Yes.
Okay, that makes more sense. I haven't even seen that, and that's a terrible, dear God, that's a terrible name. I mean, it just prayers for them to change that. But
how about Pandemonium Returns? I put zero thought into that. Don't you think that's a better one?
that's probably a better one. What about, just the volunteer year? I mean,
I think
no thought.
I think we come up with about 18 that are better than that. So
terrible idea.
Yeah, just for funsies. So last night I posted a late poll question: is this a good idea? And I posted a link to the book, and I put no, absolutely not, definitely not, maybe, no, wait, it's bad, and actually maybe, no, wait, it's bad one. But they were all, it's just not a good idea.
No, not that early. That's just, people talk about, the Peyton Manning curse, which is obviously not real. This curse, that curse. You're setting this up for failure. Like you're not, I can't remember the woman that used to predict the future, but you're not her. This is not a good idea. Wait until the season completes and then do it. Have it ready by next year. Sell it when football season starts, because that's when everyone's going to be rah, rah, rah again. So no, this is a terrible, you're setting it up for failure. Because what happens if they go out against Georgia? And I'm not saying it's going to happen, please, dear God. And for the love of everything holy, just let's hope this doesn't happen. But say Hendon Hooker gets hurt. Where's your Revivals book going to go then?
I don't know. I guess it would rank right up there with the Orange Crushed book that was set for 2005, written by Darren Epps of the Chattanooga Times Free Press, who I believe is now in logistics. But they set up they were going to write the book about Tennessee's fantastic season. And everybody knows that in 2005, that was the first crack in the armor on the field in Philip Fulmer's tenure. And we all know that didn't work out. So,
wait, he's in logistics?
Yes, he is now, because I looked him
up.
But I was curious what he was doing, because in
2005, still not,
he was a writer.
Yeah, but he's still not able to move that book, I'm assuming.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good. No, he's not able to move that book. It is definitely locked up. So, the book has not been moved at this point, and the book is one that is kind of funny, because it's really about Tennessee not doing well that season, and I imagine they didn't sell a lot of them. So I wouldn't do this, but you guys do what you want to do. You know better than me, so just go ahead and do that if you feel the need. But that's coming from the USA Today Network, and so they'll just take the pictures and put together a picture book. I doubt anybody has plans to write a book about the season. Maybe they do. I don't know. Brittany says, I pay too much just to get the Sunday paper delivered. I say no, thank you. I'm down with that. Smoky Mountain Red said, so if we had to choose which game we lose, would it be this weekend or the SEC championship? I'm thinking this weekend with Georgia winning to the SEC. No, I think, okay, if you had to, and this is not a really great way of looking at it, subscribe, like, and listen. But if you had to pick which game that Tennessee was going to lose, the SEC championship game or Georgia, I would pick the SEC championship game. You would not?
No, I would pick this game.
But you're in the Okay, I think if Tennessee wins this game, goes 12-0, and makes it to the SEC championship game, I think they're in.
See, this is my thought on it, and we'll go back to 2011 LSU, Alabama. So 2011, LSU, Alabama. Clearly very, very close game. It was also a very boring game. Extremely boring. It was just kickoffs. That's all it was. Anywho, Alabama loses. Let's just go. Nick Saban loses very close against LSU in the regular season. They meet in the national championship, and Alabama and Nick Saban destroy LSU. I mean, to the point I think LSU got over the 50-yard line one time, if that. I mean, it destroyed them. So this is what I'm saying. If you're going to go up against Nick Saban again, and if they make it past LSU this weekend, then that's the likely scenario. If you're going to go against Nick Saban again, you want that to be in the college football playoff. You don't want that to be in the SEC championship. And the only reason I'm saying that is because it never bodes well for anybody to go up against Nick Saban for a second time. So if that were to happen, I think Tennessee stands a better chance of losing to Alabama the second time around than they do to Georgia. Now, if Georgia goes up into Atlanta, faces Alabama, if Georgia wins, Tennessee automatically goes. If Alabama wins and they beat Georgia down, because I've seen, again, I think Tennessee's going to beat Georgia.
Out. Yeah, Tennessee.
No.
If Tennessee loses to Georgia and Alabama beats Georgia, Tennessee's out.
I think Tennessee's in.
No, I don't.
Because then Tennessee would be the only team in the SEC that beat Alabama. They'd be the only ones.
Yeah, I don't see
with the one loss.
I don't see how you would put them in over Georgia if Georgia beat them.
Because they do this. I mean, they've done this before. Remember when Alabama lost to Auburn? Auburn went to the SEC championship. Alabama jumped them. They still jumped them. So if on the same side, Georgia goes to the SEC championship and Georgia beat Tennessee, they go to the SEC championship, Georgia loses, Tennessee will jump.
Okay,
I just think
I don't see that, but I also don't have any insight as to the 12 people that are on the college football playoff committee. They've made some curious moves in the past. But basically, if Tennessee beats Georgia, I believe they're in no matter what. I think they could get beat by 10, 12, 14 points by Alabama and still make the college football playoff.
I don't think so. I think that the college football playoff is a very much what have you done for me lately kind of group.
Well,
I think they take losses at the end of the season very, very differently.
I would actually argue that slightly. I think that's traditional thinking with the AP, and I think that's been traditional with the BCS. I think the college football playoff does look at the entire record as a whole. More than I thought they would, but
I think they're very swayed by public opinion. So,
yeah. Now I will tell you this.
Yes.
And this is going to come down. Let's say, prime example, Ohio State. They could lose to Michigan, and I'm sure the college football playoff would do everything they could to get Ohio State in there. Not saying they would, but I think they would like to have them in there because that's a significant TV market.
Yeah, but I don't think they want two Big Ten teams, because everybody knows they play a weak schedule. So I think whoever wins Michigan, Ohio State, no matter what, whoever wins that game is going, and that's it. Yeah. They're going to pick one of them. But the SEC, if they want TV market, they want Tennessee. They want Alabama. They want Georgia. And I know they don't want all three, obviously, but they're going to take two. And I think Tennessee would not be the odd man out if Georgia falls to Alabama in Atlanta, not Athens, in Atlanta.
Yep. Interesting. Okay. Great place to watch the game on Saturday would be Big Orange Phillies. Big Orange Phillies is your home for family fun there in North Knoxville on Maynardville Pike. Big Orange Phillies is awesome. So check them out. Big Orange Phillies has all the TVs and great food. They've got darts, billiards as well. They are phenomenal. Today's tough question. Jalen Hyatt's hair says we're LSU fans this weekend. Probably. Eric says Ohio State and Michigan shouldn't get in over Tennessee. They don't have the resume Tennessee has. They don't play anyone like Tennessee does. I agree with all of that, but I'm just going to tell you that the winner of Michigan, Ohio State's going to be in. If Clemson wins out, they shouldn't be in my mind, but they're going to be in.
But they won't. They'll lose this weekend.
That could sort itself out. But I think to have two teams from one conference is asking a lot from the college football playoff committee because they want to spread things around. 3, I've been told, is just impossible. And Kevin says really simply, win and you're in. That's pretty simple. Here we go.
Yeah.
Question.
We do our research. Have you done your research?
We're working like heck.
Today's tough question. What's the real debate?
You sipping my Soupe Guadalupe?
Exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker and Amanda LaFratta.
You drinking my sake kimosabi?
Oh, my God.
All righty, Amanda LaFratta. I love it when you text me the night before and you're like, what do you think of this? Because I can tell you're fired up about today's tough question, and you have one that would have blown away anything that I could come up with.
So today's tough question is, which is the most likely scenario or situation? Which one is Tennessee most likely to achieve? And it's going to be SEC championship. It's going to be an undefeated season. It's going to be a Heisman Trophy winner or college football playoff, I think is what we went with. Or maybe it's not. Something like that.
I'm going to go the conservative route, and I'll say college football playoff. I will say that I think that Hendon Hooker, to bet on somebody winning the Heisman depends on what a lot of people do. So I'll take the most simple one, make the college football playoff. I think beating Nick Saban twice would be difficult if that's who is in Atlanta and Tennessee beats Georgia and that's who they play on Saturday. Sometimes you have to have a reality check to think that we're even having this conversation. But yes, I think that would be difficult. So I'm going to go with college football playoff. Like, subscribe, and share. We greatly appreciate that. Big subscription boost lately. Just blew by 1,000 over the past couple of weeks, and now over 1,250. And it means a lot. We really appreciate it. And if you haven't shared the channel, if you haven't liked and subscribed, please do so, because we've got a lot of good stuff coming up. Like I said, Ron Slay joins us each and every Wednesday, Jonathan Crompton each and every Friday. We got Cooper Mays, we got Jacob Warren, we got a guy named Caleb Calhoun who's about to join us to break it down. Jamie said congratulations. We appreciate that. It's been something that we've learned a lot about the YouTube world. And it's been neat, but it's been neat to be a part and get to know people like Joe, Kevin, Brittany. I'm going to leave somebody out, but it's been a cool little community we've started.
Crazy Nugs.
And Crazy Nugs, yes. But we wanted to get bigger and better, and we're excited to do that. And like I said, some monster announcements coming up once we can breathe outside of football season. So we'll ask today's tough question again from Caleb Calhoun. Today's tough question today brought to you by our friends at Guardian Investments. Guardian and Investment Advisors, they will absolutely make you money. I can attest to that. And they will make sure that your investments are secure. At Guardian Investment Advisors, they not only believe in doing what they can to help clients meet their retirement goals, but they want to educate you so that you have the tools to understand the strategies in their portfolio. So they don't just have some cookie cutter approach. I would highly encourage you to go to GIA Plan today, GIA Plan today. And here we go with Caleb Calhoun in exactly 2 minutes. Hang with me and tell me something about Big Orange Phillies, Mr. Vols.
Gary Viles here. I want to personally invite you to North Knoxville's newest sports bar and restaurant. It's Big Orange Phillies, located in Black Oak Center. And yes, folks, it's happening in Halls. Big Orange Phillies offers family-friendly environment with homemade meals and the best deli-style subs around. Billiards, darts, jukebox, shuffleboard, and cornhole, and a full bar. We also offer valet parking on weekends and during special events. We even have a covered back patio. It's happening at Big Orange Phillies. We want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This is Al's Dish Barbecue Supply, so come on in and see all the different rubs and sauces we have, plus a complete line of Green Mountain grills. Don't be overwhelmed. We have plenty of help so you can produce the best barbecue and amaze your family and friends. Barbecue is America's food. We'll do what we can to bring you all the best products. We're Al's Nest Barbecue, where Chattanooga goes to grill.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassy Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassy, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero Turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Vassy's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Vassy Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
So today's tough question, brought to you by Guardian Investments, is what? I said if you can throw that out there one more time so people can take part, including the one, the only Caleb Calhoun. Go right ahead, Amanda.
What kind of burrito is Dave eating on commercial break?
Egg.
Sausage, egg, and cheese. No, I'm just kidding. Today's tough question.
It is sausage, egg, and cheese. How about like and subscribe, share to my burrito?
That's that's awkward. Let's not do that. Okay.
Weird.
Well, yes, it did. Today's tough question. Which of these is the most likely for Tennessee? And it's an SEC championship, a Heisman Trophy, a college football playoff, or all of the above?
All right, what are you taking, Caleb? Good morning.
Of those three, I'm taking college football playoff. With a Heisman Trophy, very, 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 very close second. Like, very close. But I'm going college football playoff.
Yeah, that boy, what a story. I mean, seriously, to be able to it just is hard to put into words. I mean, Caleb, let's take the fact, and you too, Amanda, because you follow all of football. Caleb and I have spent a greater percentage of our time covering Tennessee, but let's take a step back. Just in all of college football, where would Hendon Hooker, cast off from Virginia Tech, wasn't even deemed the starter, and now winning the Heisman? If he were to do that, where would that rank among the greatest stories in college football over the past 25 years?
Well, I do want to say that I don't know if anybody's noticed on Twitter or any social media that Virginia Tech is still trying to claim Hendon Hooker like it's a Jalen Hurts, Alabama, Oklahoma situation. Stop it, Virginia Tech. Anyway, we'll continue on with that later. However, that would be you love to see these kind of stories, and normally we've seen these stories and we've hated them because of the players that they are. The Cam Newton, transfer from Florida to Auburn. No one loved that story because Cam Newton's not the greatest person.
Sorry, Amanda, I did like the story.
It's fine. You can like the story, but no one likes Cam Newton. Anyway, so just in my brain, no one likes him. And you see the Baker Mayfield thing. Like, I mean, all those kind of stories, you see that, transfer, walk on, left, transferred in. Kyler Murray was the same way. And you they win the Heisman Trophy and everybody's, oh, they were counted out, they were whatever. This would be a good story because of who Hendon Hooker is as a person. This would make the best kind of story because he's not arrogant. He's not showboaty. He's not flashy. It's not any of the Superman thing or planting a flag in the middle of a field and or grabbing inappropriately at a complete crowd or whatever. He's a great person, a great individual. And it's also a good look for, I'm going to say this, it's a good look for Christians everywhere to have this kind of, role model and leader that overcomes such adversity. And it's not in your face. Like, I loved Tim Tebow. I loved him at Florida. It was very much in your face. Everybody talked about it all the time. That's all they talked about.
Well, and you also knew that team was a bunch of thugs other than him too. So that
Tebow's Christianity was used to mask murderers. Let's just call it what it is.
It's like a bunch of Judases and one, Jesus-like figure, pretty much is what it was.
So is there a story that would even come close to that you can think of off the top of your head, Caleb?
Joe Burrow is kind of similar. I mean, he couldn't play at Ohio State. And he's not a bad dude. But if I were to think of something, wow, Amanda, really that negative towards Joe Burrow?
I knows it.
But anything else no, I mean, this was a great story. This was a great story. I think mainly because he transferred expecting to play in Jeremy Pruitt's system, and then Josh Heupel comes and Joe Milton. Not only does he transfer in all of this, but he wasn't even named the starter last year. Which again, I was writing at the time, he should have been named the starter. I still maintain I think Josh Heupel named Joe Milton the starter because he went out. I think he had a bias towards Milton because Milton was the only quarterback he signed. So I'm still not buying what Josh Heupel says that Milton outperformed him in practice. I just don't believe it. So I think that we all that's not a knock on Milton, but we all saw his accuracy issues last year.
I think in all fairness, Hendon Hooker had accuracy issues last year. I mean,
but nowhere near to the degree that Joe Milton was. Joe Milton was missing some of the easiest touchdown passes I think I've ever seen. Now he's improved this year, and when I've seen him in mop-up duty, he's much better.
You do usually play like you practice. Okay, I will give you that. However,
Josh Dobbs.
There are probably a half dozen or so examples when practice was open, Caleb, and believe it or not, that used to be a thing, that there were gamers. I mean, there were guys that went out and they played better than they practiced.
Oh, I believe that. I believe that.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs is the epitome of the one that plays better, that played a lot better than he practiced, because they tried to sit him behind two different quarterbacks, I think, and he ended up coming in and taking that starting job. I remember there was a couple of different quarterbacks that they started over him. Maybe not in the same season, but one started and then maybe got hurt and he came in, and then the other one started and then he came in. I just remember that.
The Joe Burrow comparison is apt because of the transfer, but you also have the flash. Joe Burrow likes to be seen in fur coats and all that sort of thing, where Hendon Hooker approaches the game as completely opposite. But there are a lot of similarities in that they are grad students. They are able to be gym rats, film rats, whatever term you want to use, Caleb. So, yeah, I mean, that certainly is a pretty incredible story. But I look at as far as an individual, and if that's the best we can come up with over the past 20 years, that's saying something, right?
I mean, I like that. And I think another thing that Hendon Hooker has, and what he reminds me a little bit of Jalen Hurts, just because
Jalen Hurts, that story ranks right up there with this.
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
character of Jalen Hurts and the character of Hendon Hooker, how they're both very much team players, how they're both very much just out to win, to make their team better, to do, what they have to do to make their team better. Hendon Hooker is a lot like that. I see that. And I know Jalen Hurts started at Alabama, then transferred to Oklahoma because he lost his starting job. But he still stuck around at Alabama because he had that kind of character where it was about more than just him. And I think a lot of the quarterbacks we've seen that have been in similar situations as Hendon Hooker, it's really been just about them. And I know, you like Joe Burrow and all that stuff, but I still see him as a very much me kind of guy. Hendon Hooker, on the other hand, is a very much team player, all out for the team, no matter what. You put it all on the line, and he plays for the team. And that's where I think the difference is.
I'm actually happy that we hashed that out because Jalen Hurts is the one.
Yeah.
To me, if you go past,
Coming in the SEC championship game and winning that game after Tua got hurt was really the Jalen Hurts story. Doing that against Georgia was a story. I agree with that. And it was also, I think, smart for him to stay around for a year. I think it really helped him work on his mechanics and things like that before he transferred to Oklahoma and was really ready to take over. It kind of reminds me of in the 90s, Dave, we talked about this over the weekend, but, T. Martin, when Peyton Manning decides to come back for a senior year, T. Martin easily could have transferred and gone somewhere else to play. Mm-hmm. And he decided to sit behind Peyton one more year. And T. Martin will be the first to tell you that was the best move he ever made, was sitting behind Peyton another year, because it really helped him improve his mechanics and develop a lot as a sophomore.
Well, but remember this too, with that we're talking about kind of apples and oranges with T, because T would have had to sit out a year.
Yeah.
So with the with the transfer rules now, it's easier to say, see ya, I'm out, I'm cleaning up my locker room, I'm gone. Back then, T was kind of stuck. It was a really unfair one-way contract that the school could cut you after any year they chose to, but the player was technically stuck to them for 4 or 5 years without, or they had to sit out. Sorry, Caleb.
Yeah, remember when Derek Dooley advocated for being able to get out of scholarships on players that they weren't performing, and he's like, we do that with scholarships for players not doing well in GPAs, and I'm like, are you kidding? That would be the most abused thing that coaches ever did. Like, they would let athletes out. Yeah, he advocated for that, and he tried to say the market would dictate coaches who abuse it. I'm like, no, it's not going to dictate it. Like, if Nick Saban could do that and did it, that wouldn't stop Nick Saban from still getting the best talent all the time.
Well, that's true. And it's kind of come full circle now, though, because I know for a long time I had the argument of you're saying academics means more than physical, whatever, sports, all that stuff. And in reality, I think they should be even, but we put academics ahead of everything else, where you can lose your scholarship, you can do all of this if you're not great in academics. And I understand everybody wants everyone to get a college degree, but honestly, college degrees don't mean what they used to mean. Let's be honest. They don't mean what they used to mean. And now everybody has a college degree. It's like a high school diploma. Now things are going to go to trade schools. That's where you're going to make the money. It's kind of come full circle on itself.
No, I mean, that's a good point from society's point of view, but I'll say this too. I mean, if my son, when he goes to college, if he finds some quote unquote, air quotes, part-time job in which he could potentially make 7 digits, or he can go to engineering school and maybe one day make 6 digits, there's going to be a discussion, and it would depend on what he would want to do. I'm not going to take over. I'm not that guy. But there would be a discussion about how, well, maybe you need to focus on this thing. And Hendon Hooker, he has made that business decision. He is in grad school, and Josh Heupel was asked about that, how much that helped, and he didn't really like that. He's like, there's still a full class load. Listen, they've been stacking it so they don't go to a lot of classes in football season anyway. I mean, that's how it
Except for
always
Notre Dame players.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how it always worked. And now COVID makes it even easier because a lot of them are still video conferencing, and that's a thing, and they haven't gone away from that. Trust me, I've talked to players, and you always stacked it where you would have all you have to do is pass 6 hours in the fall. That's all you have to do, because then you're eligible for the postseason. So as long as you maintain your current trajectory, I'm forgetting the term, but as long as you do that, take 6 stupid hours and don't kill yourself, because you can always, that was the argument that was so stupid going way back, Caleb. Do you remember the Linda Benzel Myers situation? You remember?
I do not. I'm
Tennessee,
sorry.
the English
Yes.
teacher.
Yes.
Yes.
So she just
Sorry.
went off about how they were giving these players and they were funneling them into like urban studies and all these horrible majors that they weren't going to make any money.
She got
Here's the
fired.
thing. Well, yeah, and I went and interviewed her in her office. So she goes on her agenda diatribe for a long time. And then at the end of it, I said, do you know every single Tennessee player is allowed to come back and go to school for free for as long as they want to? They can get their doctorate. And she goes, really? I was like, yeah. So why wouldn't you go ahead and do urban studies or whatever it is, be the best football player you can be, and know that if you want to be an orthopedic surgeon, you can come back to Tennessee and they'll pay for it.
Wow. So this is a huge eye opener for me, because I listened to, this was about 3 years ago. I was listening to Arian Foster on Joe Rogan, funny enough. And Arian Foster played at Tennessee, obviously.
So stupid.
Wow.
Arian Foster, who played at Tennessee, claimed that the whole they get a free education is a scam, because he claimed he wanted to be a psychology major, but the football schedule didn't line up with the coursework required to be a psychology major. But what you're saying is he easily could have gone and had a football career and then come back and majored in psychology if you wanted to.
He can enroll January the 15th, and it's all paid for. Reggie Cobb did that. Reggie Cobb came back and got his degree. Fred White came back and got his degree.
That'd be a good article to do.
Maybe that's true.
Because a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that. I didn't know they had unlimited time to come back and get a degree. And that would have changed a lot of people's minds, I think, on, that agenda of they're funneling football players through and they're getting good grades and everyone's cheating and yada, yada, yada. And they're not going to learn anything and blah, 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 blah. Josh Dobbs is a good example of someone who, like you said, was going through a really hard, degree and ended up, he's still in the NFL. He's still in the NFL.
Yeah.
And
I mean, at the time I was like, why are you doing this to yourself?
Yes.
To be honest with you. I mean, you're that young. If it means coming back to Tennessee for 2 years to make it a little easier and make yourself a better football player, why not do it? I'll give you the ultimate one. Dwayne Goodrich with the Cowboys killed 2 people. And was allowed to come back, and it was paid for, and he graduated with Fred. I mean, it befuddles me that is not talked about more often. And so at the time with this Linda Benzel Myers thing, I actually called around to several schools until I got sick of calling. I called Florida, Alabama, any significant school. Now, I'm not saying that is the case if you're talking about Northwest Idaho State. I don't know. But if you're playing at a significant place where you have potential for an NFL future, all of those type of schools, I got sick of calling. I called about 8. All of those type of schools, you can come back and get your degree, and it's paid for.
Let's also point out the other, the not official part of this, which is that if you played football at Tennessee and you graduate, there's a lot of people who are going to get you a job. There's a lot of people that are going to want to help out a former Vol. And the Doxel has, we talked about, some deep business ties. I mean, didn't the Dish Network guy go to Tennessee, or isn't he a top Tennessee booster?
Dish is a big guy. He was there with Mike Hamilton when Mike got the phone call that Lane Kiffin was leaving. That was uncomfortable.
So there's that. Obviously, Pilot.
Discovery Network, Scripps, Siemens.
Yeah, well, I'll
Yeah,
give
a
you
lot
another,
of these
how
big
about this?
companies.
I'll give you another example. If you play football for Tennessee, and we're talking about archaic times, I mean, they're making money now, okay? But
Right.
if you play football for Tennessee in the 80s or 90s, and you came out of school where most of us, in the 80s or 90s would be happy with $30,000, $35,000 a year. If you came out of school, you're going to make 6 digits as long as you keep your nose clean. And in the case of Reggie Cobb, he didn't keep his nose clean, and he got to come back and he got to play. He got to go to school and graduate like 20 years later.
He seemed like a good dude. He just had some issues in
Okay.
college. Reggie Cobb.
Just,
I mean,
I
non-violent. It was the 80s, man. It was the 80s.
everything.
It was the 80s.
Did he literally not keep his nose clean?
I was wondering if you'd pick up on that.
Okay. I was wondering if that's
I will
what it
give
was.
Amanda and I credit, Caleb, and you can jump on board if you want to. We have been quite quippy today. Like, subscribe, and share. Zool Beer Company is the official craft beer of Off the Hook Sports. Zool Beer Company is right downtown, and it has just phenomenal space to hang out in and great parking and worldwide award-winning craft beer, which I'm getting very good at saying that. John says, Dave, honestly, are you more nervous about the UGA game than the Bama game leading in? It's not even close. I think leading in, my thoughts, and guys, let me get your alls. I thought Tennessee would lose to Alabama. I now think that Tennessee will, at the very least, play Georgia incredibly close. I thought the Alabama was going to be the come back to earth game. I really did. And I think that Tennessee will actually beat Georgia. I mean, Amanda's gotten to know me. I tend to really look at the opponent on a Monday or Tuesday night, and I was a little bit ahead of schedule, so I did it last night. I don't see how they pressure Hendon Hooker. Nolan Smith is now out.
Which is huge.
Yeah, I got a tip on that last night. It wasn't solid enough to write it, but he's out for the remainder of the season per sources. I was told last night he was highly, highly doubtful for the Tennessee game. I don't see a scenario in which Georgia wins. I know somebody brought up on the chat board they'll play hard for Vince Dooley. You know, a lot of these guys' parents.
I don't believe that stuff.
I mean, a lot of these guys' parents weren't alive when Vince Dooley was coaching.
No,
and if
that
anybody
doesn't
needs
matter.
a historical reference for that, in 2006, Michigan, Ohio State 1-2. Bo Schembechler died like the day before the game, and Michigan still lost that game. So, you know, it's that doesn't really change how things happen.
The only thing that will change stuff like that is if it's somebody that they know personally. If it's a teammate, then they'll get up and play they'll give extra, I think, than they normally would. If it's like a teammate of theirs, they'll gather around and do something for a different purpose. But if it's somebody like Vince Dooley, no offense. Vince Dooley was great and he meant a lot to Georgia, and I rest in peace. I'm not saying anything bad about him. But as far as these 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, they don't know anything about that. More than likely, they don't know anything about that. That they don't feel that emotional connection, if you get what I'm saying. People get up and play for people that they're emotionally connected to. I don't think these kids are emotionally connected to Vince Dooley.
Could also work the other way. Could also they play poorly if they're emotionally connected. Just because I think of the game that changed the game that is the reason for the college football playoff is Oklahoma State losing on a Friday night to Iowa State in a game where they had a 24-7 lead. If they hold on to that lead, Alabama doesn't get a rematch with LSU in the national title, and there's no college football playoff. That loss happened because the women's basketball team in Oklahoma State had a plane crash earlier that day. And I think a lot of the players knew and were close with a lot of the people who did pass away. I think that had a lot to do with that loss that night.
I think all that story aside, I think the psychological stuff sometimes affects you in August. It affects you in UT Martin weeks in which you really could mail it in on a Wednesday practice, but instead you're like, hey, I want to get better because I have a purpose here of winning a national championship. I think that stuff psychologically affects you on days like that. Once the ball snapped, it's over. Aaron's saying don't see a way Georgia wins. I wish I had that confidence, but talking heads are saying Georgia will play keep away and see how that worked for Kentucky. Well, now, listen, I'll go ahead and tell you.
Didn't work for Kentucky.
If you have the intercept, I mean, that game was over with the interception, the hard hit, and
the Juwan Mitchell interception.
Yeah, the Juju interception. That game was pretty much over because that was going to flip the scoreboard and make it really difficult on Kentucky. If a play like that happens in the first quarter, game, set, match. Just go ahead. Yeah. I mean, if something like that happens, it's over. And,
it's kind of like, oh, sorry.
Well, and just to finish my point, I don't think a play like that has to happen, but if it does, then it's over.
Yeah, it's kind of like the LSU game. I mean, I still think the LSU game, if it's played again, Tennessee wins, but it could be a lot closer. But we're covering that opening kickoff the way they did and scoring on that. I mean, that was such a – and then that punt return, the next drive. I mean, there were like 2 or 3 miscues LSU made that turned what could have been like probably a close Tennessee win, maybe 1 or 2 scores into a just absolute blowout by Tennessee.
Yeah, and I will say this too. I've watched Stetson Bennett a couple of different times, and I think he's a great story too. I mean that we didn't mention him in great stories. I mean the fact that he left, came back, walk on, all that, blah blah blah. And when I watch Stetson Bennett, I think there are times, even last year when they won a national title, that he gets a little bit rattled.
Yeah.
So. I mean, there's that, and Tennessee can rush the passer. So John's saying, Dave, didn't we give Bama an easy TD with our fumble? Yeah, and they overcame it. So I guess my point was, and maybe I didn't make it clearly, John, my point is Tennessee straight up without those crazy plays, I think they win this game. If they make a play like that in the first quarter like they did against Kentucky, turn out the lights, the party's over, Don Meredith used to say.
Yeah, I think the difference between Tennessee and a lot of other teams that I'm watching, Georgia, this is against Florida, was the 4th game that was too close for comfort for a long time. It was the 4th game this season that was too close for comfort for Georgia, and that includes Samford, and Missouri. So I'm just saying, I don't think Georgia is. I think they're really overrated, if I'm going to be honest. But the difference between Tennessee and other teams like Georgia, like Alabama, like Kentucky, is one of the biggest things is their composure. If you've noticed in those games that they've played against LSU, against Alabama, against Kentucky, you've seen how the other teams have lost their composure during those games. It looks like chaos. And you have a great team like Bryce Young for Alabama who can overcome that, who can come back. But if there was no Bryce Young, that Alabama defense, they completely lost.
If not for Bryce Young, who I don't understand why he's not projected higher on draft boards.
Because he's small.
Yeah, but he reminds me a lot of Russell Wilson.
Yes.
But Caleb, if not for Bryce Young in that Alabama game, aren't we having the conversation that Tennessee beat Alabama by 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee played. I was watching. I will never forget watching that game, and I tweeted in the middle of it. I'm like, even if you're rooting for Tennessee, how can you not sit back and admire what Bryce Young was doing to keep them in that game? I mean, I don't think I've ever seen a greater performance in a losing effort by a quarterback. Tom Brady in the Super Bowl against the Eagles, notwithstanding, because that was a pretty good one too. But in college, that's the best performance I've ever seen by a losing quarterback. I mean, that was incredible. And I will say, I don't know that, the numbers suggest Stetson Bennett's pretty good and highly efficient, but I mean, I'm sorry. There's no way Stetson Bennett can do what Bryce Young did.
No, absolutely not.
So the only question then is, can Georgia protect Stetson Bennett better than Alabama protected Bryce Young? Because the Vols brought a lot of pressure, and some of that was Tim Banks, honestly. A lot of that was Tim Banks. He dialed up brilliant blitz packages all game against Alabama.
I thought he did the same against Kentucky. I thought he's done the same. I thought he did the same against LSU. I think he's done the same all season. I think that these kids deserve a lot of credit for playing with their hair on fire just for 80 snaps.
But you can't even tell. That's the thing. That's what kills me about Tennessee. And that's what separates them from other teams like Georgia, like everybody that we've talked about, is you can tell when kids are playing with their hair on fire and it's complete chaos and it's just out there. Tennessee plays with such composure that you can literally turn over a ball and it can scoop and score like they did against Alabama and come down the next play and touchdown down the entire field. They're not touched by anything. I don't know what they do to get that mental strength, but they have it. All of them have it. It's insane.
I meant specifically the defensive front plays really, really hard the whole time. And that whether they're in better condition or they're a little bit deeper, that wasn't the case throughout the season last year. I think they're used to the pacing of the game a lot more. And I think the kids deserve an awful lot of credit, Caleb. So, as far as your thoughts on Josh Heupel's press conference, who has become the master of saying something without saying anything, what stood out to you? I'll tell you what stood out to me as much as anything is that you have Pat Forty there from Sports Illustrated. You have some other guys there, so. They believe this is a bona fide story, and it certainly is. I think we were ahead of the curve, but they wouldn't send reporters, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution sent someone, which they haven't done previously. They believe that this is a real game, or they wouldn't cover it as tightly as they are. And listen, as I said it again, I don't see a scenario other than Tennessee making mistakes in which Georgia wins. So let me clarify that with the one caveat. BW asks, do you think Alabama is overrated? Amanda, do you think Alabama is overrated?
No, but that's also me following. I follow them really closely. I see, from an outside looking in, people could say that. But as we talked to Coach Landry, you can see their improvements week by week. You can see their talent come out. I think that Bill O'Brien is overrated. I think that their coordinators aren't what they should be on either side of the ball. I don't think that if you had like a Tim Banks over there, I think you'd see a different Alabama team. But are they overrated? No. They continue to get better as the week progresses, or as the year progresses. So I don't think they're overrated. Now, I think Georgia's overrated. I think Georgia's been overrated.
Okay, so I see what you're saying. You came into the season thinking that Alabama was very good, and Georgia was very good. But in terms of overrated, underrated, the national perception was that Georgia was still elite. And so no, I would agree with that.
I don't think
really consistent with that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody thinks that Alabama is elite. I don't think anybody is under the impression that Alabama is elite right now. And I don't think they're elite.
There was one AP voter who still had Alabama ahead of Tennessee in the AP poll this week.
I saw that. He caught a lot of flack. Mike Berdino.
Yeah, what's his last?
Berdino or something like that. Berendino or something. Maybe it's Mark.
Yeah.
I'll look it up.
I'll say this. I'm not calling out names, but as far as beat reporters, Kentucky basketball and Alabama football are the worst. Not as a whole, but there will be, and I'm talking like 1/5, 1/6 of the reporters that cover them that are clear homers, that are wearing, and this happened a lot when the basketball games I covered at Kentucky, they're wearing blue to the game. I mean, really, if you're a sports editor, you should fire your beat reporter if he wears the team.
Are they worse than those Northwestern grads that have just such a Midwest bias had such a Midwest bias for about 30 years until finally the SEC inked those big TV deals in the 90s?
Are you talking?
Oh my gosh, historian.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
No, these Midwestern reporters. Y'all need to watch SEC Sports this week. I'm sorry.
Are you talking about the ones that work for ESPN?
No, I'm talking about in general. In general, there was you guys should watch the SEC shorts this week. It's about like Tennessee going through a house of horrors, and then they run into a Midwest Heisman voter, and specifically a Midwest Heisman voter, and because Midwest bias towards Midwestern teams has cost Tennessee football 2 Heisman trophies in history. Paul Hornung won the Heisman going 2-8. 2-8. And
No, I agree with that.
So yes, bias towards Notre Dame is still real. It runs deep, and it comes from
deep.
Yes, and it comes from a lot of the best journalism schools are in the Midwest. So a lot of the sports reporters are disproportionately from the Midwest, and so
Ohio is supposed to have the no accent, like that's where they get the American accent is from
the non-regional
Ohio.
diction.
Yes, that's it. Thank you.
Yes.
Well, I've said this before. If it's 50-50 between in your mind or in the odds makers projections between Hendon Hooker and CJ Stroud walking into the Heisman Trust in Manhattan, CJ Stroud is going to walk out with the trophy.
The world will get lit on fire.
I mean, well, we have seen
As
that
it
Heupel
should.
is willing. We have seen, as we saw, if they meet in the playoff, Heupel is willing to pour it on you if he has some pettiness. He threw a touchdown pass to Jabari Small just to stick it to Mark Stoops over the weekend and stick it to the Stoops family. That was like, there was no reason for that. Tennessee could not do the same thing in 1997 when Peyton Manning lost the Heisman. One, because Peyton Manning was hurt, but also because John Chavis had never learned how to defend the triple option. Like, just looked lost defending the triple option. But yeah, that's. But I will say, for this game, I think I'm kind of with you. I can't believe I'm on board with you guys. I've been like the biggest hesitant to jump on believing in Tennessee this year, but yeah, I don't really see us. I can't look at the breakdown of these two teams and see exactly where Georgia's better, particularly with Tennessee so much better in the secondary now. I mean, they're healthy now, which is a really scary thought.
Yep. Hey, Brittany, if you're still on with us, shoot me that spreadsheet again. I'm having trouble with the spreadsheet.
Oh, Lord.
I'm working on it.
I'm just here. And you know what we didn't cover? And I read about it. What is the McCollough? How didn't they drop the charges now?
Did they officially drop the charges? I just thought it was cleared by the university.
No, it's been cleared by the university. I don't think it's.
Yes, but I think more stuff came out. Let me look. Nobody else has to do it. I'll look.
Okay. Interesting tease by Amanda. This day in sports history, Tennessee sports history as well. So completely dropped?
Well, it says, hold on, give me a second. Tennessee's Jaylen McCollough cleared to play after new evidence sheds light on alleged assault incident.
Okay, we'll dive into that right after this. Stay tuned. 2 minutes and the latest on Jaylen McCollough. Caleb, what do you got cooking? Anything special?
We got some assistants talking today, so we'll see what they say. Josh Heupel was revealing yesterday about Georgia's personnel, but I got an article up, Ken the Vols scheme for Georgia this year, because Georgia was too good to scheme for last year. So we'll see.
Smoky Mountain Red saying death, taxes, and Dave with spreadsheets. I think you heard the email come in. Thank you, Brittany. I love you. Caleb, have a fantastic day. I'll talk to you this afternoon.
All right. See you guys later. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye, Caleb.
So this day in Tennessee sports history coming up next. The latest on Jaylen McCollough. You give me 2 minutes. I give you the world on Off the Hook Sports.
Gary Viles here, Viles Automotive on Callahan Drive. I've been selling cars here in East Tennessee for 27 years. In that time, I've come to realize it's not about the car. It's about you, the customer. So I'm here to take care of you just like family. Good credit, bad credit, you name it, we can get you taken care of. If we don't have it, we can find it for you. We go across the country to get any vehicle that you want. And here at Viles Automotive, we don't believe in fake numbers. We just give you great deals. And as always, we want, we need, and we appreciate your business.
Do you want to own the more that owns every job? Then get to Vassey Lawn and Garden in Cleveland and get you a Toro. I'm David Vassey, here to talk to you about Toro. With a Toro Zero turn, you'll get more out of every minute and you'll reach the finish line faster. At Bassey's, we like to say, no matter if you're mowing 3 acres a week or 11 lawns a day, homeowners and business owners alike find confidence in equipment they can trust from top to bottom.
Bassey Lawn and Garden, Highway 60 North in Cleveland.
Man alive, it's worth the drive.
This is Steve Rain. I own the Midnight Oil and Michelin Tire Direct service station here in Ottawa. It's not a fancy place, never has been, but it's a clean place with clean restrooms and good folks who work here. We sell gas and fix cars, nothing glamorous, but we love what we do, and we're going to keep doing it for a long time to come. There's not many real service stations left, and that's a shame. We're the guys just like the guys back in your hometown. We'll fix your tire, change your oil, and put a new set of Michelins on your car. If you want a Twinkie, you'll just have to keep on going. Thanks for the business.
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
Dare to compare.
This day in sports history, putting things in perspective, exclusively on Off the Hook Sports with Dave Hooker.
You're so old. When you were a kid, rainbows were black and white.
And Amanda LaFratta.
New Kids on the Block just called. They wanted you as a backup dancer.
This day in sports history brought to you by Andy Mason, realestate.com. Andy Mason, a friend of mine and my realtor. Don't go anywhere else if you're in Knoxville because it will cost you thousands of dollars not to go with Andy Mason. Andy Mason, realestate.com. Andy is simply fantastic. Over 40 years of experience in the real estate field. And he brings you this day in sports history, this day in Tennessee sports history. Thank you, Brittany. Certainly appreciate you sending that. And we will also the latest on the Jaylen McCollough situation, which appears to maybe be resolved. So November the 1st, how in the world is it November? I do not know. But November the 1st, Tennessee defeated number 11 Georgia in Athens. First win by Georgia opponent dating back to 1965, ending an undefeated streak of 16 games. And then the Crossville Comet fullback Kurt Watson ran for what was a record at the time, 197 yards. That's one of those guys that fans still absolutely love, Amanda, which is the Crossville Comet. That is one of the best nicknames in all of Tennessee football lore. That is just a great nickname.
I didn't even know about the Crossville Comet.
It's probably because he was born before your parents were.
It's fair.
It's a big part of it. All right. Brittany says, it's my birthday month. I'm going to need Tennessee to continue showing out for you. That's right. I love that that's where we are in America. We not only celebrate weekends or weeks, months. Happy birthday, Brittany. From when you joined us one time on the show, I'm going to guess 22. That's where my guess is. All right. So why? Okay. So this is by Trey Wallace of Outkick. So give kudos to him. Tennessee's Jaylen McCollough cleared to play after new evidence sheds lights. No, this is back to the being cleared by the
it's not the student board. So the student conduct board cleared him.
Right.
But this one is he's being cleared by an independent board at Tennessee. So, and also his lawyer is putting in a new motion to basically dismiss the charges because the evidence showed that actually Warren Burrell was there as well. And he and both McCollough and Burrell tried to get the, alleged victim to leave. And the guy tried to re-enter the apartment for a second time. And McCollough assumed that the guy was breaking and entering, which it seems like maybe he was, because if it's twice you try to enter the wrong apartment, you got problems. So an independent, it says McCollough has now been cleared to play by an independent review board at Tennessee, but this review board is not connected to the student conduct board. So the student conduct board cleared him to play, and now this other review board or student conduct board cleared him without having any kind of, he didn't need any repercussions for his actions or whatever. But now this independent review board at Tennessee has cleared him to play, and his lawyer is now pushing to basically get it dismissed.
Interesting. That update brought to you by Nutrition World. Nutrition World is the best in supplements. You don't know what you're going to get from those acronym places that sell supplements. I'll just go, hey, you want to try that? See if it works. Come back and tell me. Not with Nutrition World. Nutrition World has the best supplements, and they are absolutely vetted as far as their suppliers, and you're going to know where your supplements are coming from and that they're safe. Go to nutritionw.com, nutritionw.com, and you will be very glad that you did. So Eric's saying any of us would do the same as Jaylen did if some drunk guy just walked into our apartment house or whatever. I know I would do the same as Jaylen did. I mean, the guy's lucky he didn't get shot.
Yeah. I'm just saying, and apparently, according to the statement given by, McCollough, Warren Burrell was there as well, and is also a witness to what happened and the fact that the guy entered the apartment twice.
Well, the twice is a big deal to me. Now, let's be sure and point out that Warren Burrell would have a vested interest. He's friends with Jaylen. So, but I will say this about Josh Heupel, and I was pretty critical at the time going way back with Philip Fulmer. I thought he let some discipline issues go unfettered. And I think that the fact that Tennessee kicked 2 players off of their team really quickly in August or over the summer is a sign that Josh Heupel is not going to tolerate that. And it's a sign that he doesn't think he has to, because his team's good enough where you don't have to be desperate. The old saying that Philip Fulmer used to have, and I'm not knocking him, okay? I mean, he won a national championship, but the old saying was, it's the Jimmies and Joes, not the X's and O's. Well, with Philip, that was probably 80% true, and it was 80% Jimmys and Joes, 20% scheme. With Josh Heupel, I think it's more along the lines of what makes him special, of 70% the X's and O's, about 30% the Jimmys and Joes. And I think he's proving that week in and week out. I think it's almost 100% flipped.
Yeah. And I've said this about Josh Heupel, and I think you were right about him not, maybe the administration was kind of stepping in on this McCollough situation, because I think Heupel would have played McCollough, and I think he would have been right in doing so. So with that being said, he seems to me like, I've compared him to Nick Saban before. They're completely different, minded coaches. One's offensive, one's defensive. But his actions and the way he takes up for his players and the way that he, what he's doing at Tennessee and turning it around in such a short amount of time, they really do remind me of each other. Now, Nick Saban is smaller and angrier, and we know that. But Heupel, just the way they go to bat for their players, but also that they're not afraid of disciplining them when they need disciplining. So, and I know a lot of people will talk about Jermaine Burton and all that stuff. Again, more to the situation and more to the story than we know, just like here with Jaylen McCollough, more to the situation, more to the story than we know. So to me, they're very similar.
Orange Blood saying, Dave, could Heupel take yourins and beat hisins and vice versa? Yes. In other words, could you take the other team's players and win if you switch rosters? Now, I say that let's not undermine what these players have done, because they believe in Josh Heupel. A lot of those guys have a good chip on their shoulder. Okay.
Correct.
The guys that have sat through a lot of bad years, the guys like, Cedric Tillman, who had to sit through a lot of bad years, Hendon Hooker transfers, all those guys, Rue McCoy transfers. I mean, they have good chips on their shoulders. So let's not devalue that in any shape, form, or fashion. But do I think, okay, so if rosters are equal, what coach are you taking over Josh Heupel today, November the 1st, 2022?
If
I'm
rosters are equal.
If rosters are equal, and they're playing Madden and they're playing with the same teams, who are you taking? They can do, well, not Madden because they don't have play designs like that, but you could design your own plays and all of that. Jalen Hyatt's a great story as well. He's one that's more of appreciative than a chip on his shoulder, I would say. But yeah, that's a great one. Who do you think could outcoach Josh Heupel right now, November the 1st, 2022? I'm still going to give Nick Saban credit.
I'll give that nod.
I think we'll know about Kirby Smart on Saturday. Does Kirby have something special that he can do to get pressure on Hendon Hooker? I don't think so.
No.
I'm leaning towards. I think you do have to realize that what you have at Tennessee and get ready because the NFL teams are going to come calling. You have something really, really special, I believe. And I said in the summer, I wasn't maybe as convinced yet as you were, Amanda, but I remember saying, I think that he could be special. Yeah. And there were two reasons I thought it was play design, tempo, offense, all that. That was one. And the other, I just thought the players really believed in him.
Yeah, that's underrated, I think. I think that's a very underrated where people, they kind of glance over that part. Oh, yeah, the players believe in him. No, it takes a lot to make all of those different personalities, all of those different egos, all of those different, backgrounds and upbringings and all that stuff. It takes a lot for a coach to be able to bring all of those people together, especially as soon as Heupel's done it. 2 years. Like, this is insane to bring all of those personalities together and make every member of that team want to play for you. Because I know, again, Nick Saban can do it. Who else out there can do that? There's not many.
Kevin said Lincoln Riley. That's very fair. I think that Lincoln Riley just purely X's and O's. I'm not saying, okay. And he hasn't hired as good of a defensive coordinator. Part of that's a sales job, man. To go to a defensive coordinator and say, hey, you want to be a defensive coordinator when I'm running 8,000 plays a game on offense? A lot of dudes are like, no, thanks. I'm good.
Well, they're going to have to change that because that's how everybody's going to start running.
Yeah, they're going to start running a lot of tempo. I still think there'll be one team, and I think Sam Pittman is kind of showing this at Arkansas, but you have to be at an elite program to have elite talent. I think there will be a team that flips it. But, I've said that about the NBA for a long time, and it hasn't happened. The fact that Giannis Antetokounmpo is shooting 3-pointers is evidence that I was probably wrong, because I keep waiting for some team to say, hey, we're going to throw it down in the post like a Kevin McHale style. I'm going old school. James Worthy, and he's going to have his back to the basket and score points. I keep thinking there's going to be a college football team that's going to control clock and play great defense, but I just don't know that the rules are set up like that. The same way, if I can continue the parallel, the 3-point line. The best shot in basketball is the open three. The second best shot statistically is drive to the hoop and hopefully get an and one or get fouled. The third, maybe worse, I could probably come up with a, say, half-court shot, but the worst shot is the mid-range jumper for 2. Maybe that's just,
unless the rules change to benefit defenses, and maybe they will, I don't know. Unless the rules change, there's not going to be a lot of defensive play in college football. That's just true. We're not going to see defense be dominant again. in college football. Defense used to win championships. Doesn't anymore.
No, and really, it's crazy to say this, but it was most apparent when Nick Saban hired Lane Kiffin.
Yep.
If you remember, that was the middle of the season, and that's when the best coach in college football said, hey, this guy got cast off from Southern California. This guy has a terrible reputation, but I'm going to hire him anyway as an analyst, and then elevated him to coordinator. That was the watershed moment in college football, if you really want to look at it, because some people were doing what Lane did, and Lane ran pro style. Give Lane Kiffin and Josh Heupel a lot of credit because of what happened in their careers and their missteps or failures. And with Josh Heupel, that would be Oklahoma getting fired there, which I don't think was necessarily his fault. But if you look at that, Amanda, because of what happened there, those guys went out and changed their game. You know, Lane ran pro style at Southern Cal. Not the second time, but way back when he was the offensive coordinator. So Eric says offense wins championships, and that's great for Tennessee because Tennessee has one of the best offensive minds in college football right now. I agree.
The best. I wouldn't say one of the best. I would say the best.
Strong stuff. And that's why I said that Brent Venables was a terrible hire at Oklahoma. And Oklahoma.
That's true.
Yeah, fans. I mean, that your program, I think that people need to understand, and I'm going to get off my soapbox after this. You build a program around something. Tennessee in practice, when they're running tempo all the time, then that's less time that the defense gets to see against the ones because you can't run that much tempo on both sides of the ball. So they don't. And I've talked to our guys about it, Cooper and Jacob. I mean, they play ones versus ones, very, very limited during the season. I mean, that wasn't the case back when. So your program is built around a philosophy, and the philosophy is offense. So if you hire a Brent Venables, you can say, oh, yeah, he's going to hand it off to the offensive coordinator. And sure, that's what Nick Saban did with Lane Kiffin. But Nick Saban is smarter than Brent Venables. Just to be real honest.
Well,
it's not close. No. I mean, if Brent Venables couldn't sleep at night if he said, I'm going to hand it off to an offensive coordinator who's going to run 80 plays a game. And he probably can't sleep at night because that's what they tried to do. And that's why it's not working. So there's a fundamental issue there.
Man, Oklahoma is not having a good year, and not just Oklahoma State. Both teams in Oklahoma got goose-egged this season.
Yeah.
Goose-egged. Like, I think 49-0 on both of them.
Yeah. Owl's Nest Barbecue, when you're driving through Ottawa, is a great place to stop by and say hello because they've got fantastic barbecue sauces and rubs, and they've got the Green Mountain grills that are absolutely unparalleled. That is Owl's Nest Barbecue right there in Ottawa. And they, along with Craft Treats, will bring you our message board bingo. So you'll get to choose whether you would like something from Craft Treats or Owl's Nest Barbecue. And I do love me some Craft Treats. By the way, so forgot to give the dog the chill pills a couple nights ago. And after 6 jumps, he couldn't get up on the bed. So I felt really bad, like I've dropped the ball, helped him up on the bed. And I gave him the chill pills yesterday, and he jumped right up on the bed, first try.
Wow. Oh, I wanted to tell you something about Craft Treats, too. Last night, we had, in our neighborhood, people come and drop.
You gave away dog treats?
I did. Craft Treats. Not the chill pills, though, because I don't know how people want to live with their dogs. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not sure if they want CBD or whatever. Some dogs may not want it. They might need it, but they may not want it. So I gave them the little cheesy straw things and loved it. I mean, just chomp, 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 chomp. Like, gobbled it up.
What did they do?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Crafttreats.com. Don't forget you save 20% at checkout with the exclusive code Off the Hook. Check it out, Off the Hook. And they bring you, along with Alice Nest Barbecue, message board bingo. You'll get to decide what you win. Here's the way it works. Amanda LaFratta will read a post on a message board. If you can tell me which school that message board post is on, then you'll win either something from Craft Treats or something from Alice Nest Barbecue. So how awesome is that? It is time for message board bingo. Boom.
Offer Kiffin $200 million.
Auburn.
Hugh Freeze, ? This was posted at 10:39 p.m. on Saturday. So I find that hilarious because somebody's been in the sauce.
I think it's Auburn.
It's not Auburn.
Oh, Smoky Mountain Red said Auburn. Eric said Auburn. Lyman Holt, welcome, Lyman. I don't think I've seen you post before. We appreciate you being a part of the program. Like, share, and subscribe. Don says Hawaii. Don picks Hawaii every day.
I'm going to find a Hawaii one, Don.
So it's not Auburn. Can we get it? Eric says Ole Miss.
No.
I don't know.
It's SEC.
It is SEC.
Mm-hmm. No more? No more guesses?
No more guesses. We got a Texas A&M. We got an Ole Miss.
Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. There we go. We had a Nebraska. All right. So we've got a winner. Congratulations. Email me. I'm going to put my email right here so we can hook you up with good stuff. And just let me know if you would prefer. You got 3 options. You got something awesome from Alice Nest Barbecue. You've got Craft Treats as well. And don't forget to go to crafttreats.com. Use that promo code Off the Hook for 20% off any purchase, the chill pills or otherwise. The chill pills are great for anxiety or arthritis or digestive issues. Or you can win a Hooker t-shirt. We still got some of those hanging around.
Try it again Tuesday.
Oh, try it again Tuesday.
Forgot. Yes.
Yeah, try it again Tuesday. Who is that?
My try it again Tuesday is going to be Virginia Tech.
Okay.
And I started that off and then stopped it because I have them as try it again. Hendon Hooker's not your quarterback. You didn't treat him right. Stop trying to claim him with the Heisman, with the HEIS, with the Tennessee and Orange and MAN, with the Virginia.
Is that a thing?
Yes, it's a thing. Stop it. Stop it, Virginia Tech. You can't claim him as your Heisman winner when you did him dirty. So stop it. No. Bad. No. Try it again, Virginia Tech. Get your own Heisman quarterback. Just saying.
I'm going to say try it again. And you wore a prison outfit yesterday, but I'm going to go back to the Michigan State thing. So there were still some videos that surfaced that makes it even worse. And I am not making any excuses for the Michigan State players that beat down a couple of Michigan players in the tunnel. But how about try it again? There's just one. I thought there were 2.
Well, okay. I know one's lawyered up.
Yeah, one is lawyered up.
No.
My try it again Tuesday, how about this, is to whoever designed that stadium where you have to come in and out together. What are we going to hold hands and just scream and yell kumbaya? I mean, what? It's football. I don't know. I'm not making excuses for any of those Michigan State players, but I'm betting you, and it's kind of happened with Penn State, although it was like a sophomoric type of joke is what Jim Harbaugh called it at Michigan. But I'm betting you this probably happened in the 60s, 70s, and 80s when there weren't cell phone cameras.
It happened to Ohio State last season. I mean, I've seen videos of Ohio State, and like it wasn't like a beatdown or anything else, but really, and I'm not trying to sound like the girl with the short skirts asking for it. I'm not trying to do that, but you're asking for it when you have a tunnel with 18 to 22-year-olds going through playing game against each other that's physical. You're asking for it when one of them loses. I mean, I'm sorry. And no, you should be able to handle yourself better than that. But just make it a non-thing. Make it go in different areas. Like, I don't know why that's a thing. This isn't professional football.
Here's a good one. Try it again Tuesday. Kentucky needs to try their bye week again. Remember all the talk about Kentucky's bye week headed into Tennessee, how much that would help? It did not. Try It Again Tuesday is brought to you by Vols Automotive Group. Vols Automotive Group right there on Callahan. With Vols Automotive Group, here's what you need to know. They appreciate your business, and they are all about integrity, so you don't have to try it again if you go to Vols Automotive Group. They are simply that awesome. I want to thank City Heating and Air Conditioning as well in North Knoxville and Bassey Lawn and Garden right there in Cleveland. Man alive, it's worth the drive. Have a fantastic day, everyone. Coming up on the YouTube channel, we will have Josh Ward of the Sports Animal in Knoxville. He's fantastic. And we're excited to say that we will have Ron Slay on tomorrow and all kinds of good stuff. So check it out. Like, share, and subscribe. We greatly appreciate that. She's Amanda LaFratta. I'm Dave Hooker. This is